Hi everyone, it's Dasher Dave here again, back for another crafty video. So, today we're going to work on some more of the Grimoire. I'll show you what we've done so far though, because it was wet when last time we looked at it. So, that's the front cover that you'd seen. That's how the back has dried. So that's, I love the way that that has turned out. I think I might infill that. There's a slight ridge there from the paper mache, but again, it could be sanded down. But I might infill that. Maybe I was thinking maybe some resin. So like I'll paint it and then I'll infill it with maybe some resin. So it's like a diamond of sparkle. I don't know. So that's that. Like I say, really love that. And then this is the spine. So this is how the spine's turned out. So like I say, I've left this on because I think I'm going to glue this to the underside. So I think I can explain a bit better now. What I'm hoping to do is have this glued to the underside of there so that it butts up to the book but not over the top of it, if you understand what I mean. So it'll be attached by sticking it on that side, and then attached to here, so it'll be trapped inside there, and that's what will hold it all together. Obviously that means I'm going to have to do something with the spine, because when you open it, it will lie. Let's see if I can make it look like how it'll lie. That's not going to be like that, isn't it? That's going to be like that. I won't put the back board on, I'll just wing it, kind of just open like that. So that means that will need to be decorated with something. I can put some velvet down there, some purple velvet or something like that. And that's how I think I'm going to attach it. Obviously that'll be around the other way. But you get what I mean, hopefully. I'm going to just cough, just bear with me a second. Still find that talking just makes it that bit more difficult for me to not cough. So anyway, I think that's how it's going to go. Then we're going to have the book that sits inside, and then these are going to be filled with things. I might be doing something a little bit different with these, so there might be a reason why I don't stick them down quite so soon. I haven't worked out exactly what I'm going to do. I've just got a couple of ideas that I kind of want to float first with myself and then tell you guys afterwards. So yeah, so that's all stuck down now. That PVA stuck it perfectly fine. It's, you know, it's got that wrinkly look and it looks old and bashed, and that's what we wanted it to do. We need it to look old. So that's my front and back cover. So that's my front and that's my back. My front cover, you know, I said I wanted something in the middle. I've kind of decided what I wanted. I'm going to cough again. So I have made these to go on the front. So these are some paper mache mushrooms. Now today what I'm going to do is show you how to make them, but not necessarily use the one that I'm going to make. I might, but you know, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Now these are still wet. These, I literally just made these off camera, and so I'm only just going to place it because I don't want it to dry on the, but it'll sit like that. It'll be all trimmed down and everything, and they'll kind of sit like that. Now they're made to sit, like I said, they're very sticky. They're made to sit together, sorry. So this one has an arch out of it so that it sits over that stem, so that they'll sit in a group together. So that's what I'm doing. The very points are just because I want to just cut them off flat, because they're going to attach to the underside of there. But I'm going to show you how to make those, because I've learnt a lot. So didn't know how to construct it. I knew what I wanted, wasn't sure what I was going to use to construct it. So I played around with a few different things, and I've landed on something, and I've learnt some things as a result of landing on that. Let me just make sure that is up on that shelf and it's not going to fall off. So apologies for my squeak chair. The base of it is constructed from some foil. So I'll show you what I did. Just got some foil out, which is always easier said than done, because it never... Oh, it's playing now. Now that I was threatening it, telling you that it never wants to play, but it is playing now. except for now it won't close properly. Okay, so it was made from 2 sheets of foil. So what I did first was I did the stem, and I just folded in the raw edges, kind of just didn't really fold them, I just turned them in and did the same to either side, and then I just kind of folded it into itself, I kept folding it into itself until it turned into something like this, and then I just squished it down, and the turning in actually forms a bit of a bigger bulge. Now if you look at any kind of mushrooms and toadstools, etc., they have a bigger bulge at the bottom, and then I just give it a roll. Once you kind of crushed it into place, I give it a roll. I'm going to make this another long one. Just give it a roll until the stem is the thickness you want it to be. Don't worry about it being wibbly wobbly, nibbly knobbly, etc. That's absolutely fine. And then what you want to do is you just want to make sure that it kind of sits, it's got a flat back, you know what I mean? You can bend it or whatever. You could bend it now, or you can bend it later, or whatever. You can make it just look a little bit more natural by not being perfectly straight. And then you just kind of just shape it a little. And then I'll show you how I paper mache it. So that's the stem. To make the I was going to say the lid, but it's not. It's called a cap, Dave. Just folded it in half, and then I kind of just folded it into, like, screwed it into a kind of a hat shape, and then if you can have a very big cap, and then just, and don't worry about the thickness of it, because you're going to cover it in paper mache anyway. You're just using it as the kind of structure, so you just want to get the shape that you want. So it's perfect because it's foil, it bends nicely, but it has structure to it, and also it's lightweight, so it's not going to add a lot of bulk. And then you see, like that, it's got a nice then cap shape to it. So that's how I made the structure. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make some more of the paper mache. So I'm going to get all the dirty stuff out now. So this has become my paper mache kit. I do have this to try and protect my mat a little. So the first thing is you're going to need some more. So I made some more of this. This time I made this just a little bit thicker, and the reason for, because you can always make it thicker, so you can always use less water in it and make it a little bit thicker and thin it down. Then it's easier to do that than try and then add more flour, because adding more flour to thicken it will mean that it goes a bit lumpy, just like any batter. So I'm going to put some of that into there. I don't need a lot because it's only a mushroom. I can always put more in. Okay, so the first thing is, I'm going to do it this way, but you can do it however you like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat this in this before I start. Now I tried just sticking paper mache to this, and I found it so difficult because it wasn't sticking. I needed a key for it. Now you could paint it with gesso or whatever, but if you've already got your paper mache stuff here, then there's absolutely no point getting another product out when you've already got that product, well, this product going. Product? Yeah, it's product. You know me, I get product and project mixed up all the time. So I just coated it like that, and the brick is literally so that I can dry it, and then just kind of get it on your fingers and smoosh it all in. You can kind of then look at that cap and reshape it and whatever as well. And you just want to cover it all over, including the back, so that make sure the back's covered as well, because that's kind of going to be your key for locking it onto. And so once you've kind of smooshed all of that in, you just need to dry it. Now I'm going to dry it. Now it might get a bit noisy. I'll just wipe my hands on something, not someone, and the something is actually a cloth that's really covered in paper mache. It's not just, I'm not wiping it on my clothes, don't worry. I'm going to cough just there. So, now we've done that, we're just going to dry it. Now, you could put it in your air dryer. You could put it in your, you could put it in the oven. You could put it outside if you live in a hot place, a hot climate. I mean, like, you know, the sun's out today, but it's not particularly hot. And all you want to do is you just want to dry it off. Now, it doesn't take long to do at all. You know, if you stuck it in an air fryer, you're thinking about like maybe a minute. It's not going to take any time whatsoever. Don't worry. It's foil, so it doesn't get terribly hot, and heat dissipates from it very quickly. So, touching it shouldn't be too bad, but always test it before you actually just pick it up. So what you're doing is you're just drying, and then that will just give you that nice key to be able to then stick your paper mache to. I've also got a slightly, not a different technique, but just learnt something as I've been making these projects, so I'll share that bit in a second once we just get this dry. So hopefully you can still hear me while I'm doing this. So I just want to test it. Is it dry? It's fine. Actually, just check the back, Dave, because that hasn't had a chance to dry. Yeah, that's fine. So, like I say, it doesn't take any time to dry whatsoever. So now I'm going to move Mavis back onto the floor. So Mavis is the brick, in case anybody's wondering. If you've recently tuned in to me and like you don't know what I'm talking about. Sorry, bits of paper on the floor. So, newspaper, still going with the same newspaper here. So, let's just make sure I've got a box here of pieces that are already cut. Just get those out. Put those pieces that aren't, well, cut, I say cut, ripped. Now, I prefer to rip it. Lots of people cut, I've seen lots of people cut it. The reason I like to rip it is it gives you that rough edge again, which means that when you put in two parts together, you don't see the join line so much. So, now, when you're thinking about these covering like this kind of a shape, this one takes small strips. So what I do is I'll put a big piece on the top, like a square of it on the top, and a square of it underneath, and then I'll use strips and join the strips up, like by going over the edge. And these ones, I'll use a long piece shaped. Now, to do that, I'm going to put a little bit more of this in here, not because I probably don't need it, but because it's just easier when I'm on camera. So, for doing this, because you're trying to sculpt the paper, one of the things that I've learnt is that once you've dipped the paper, let's just rip these into smaller, I don't wipe it off completely. What I want it to do is really soak into that paper. So I'm just literally just stacking a few together so that they stay nice and moist. Moist, I know you don't like that word. Well, I don't mind that word, but I know lots of people don't like it. It's just a word. So what I do is what I want it to do is to really soak into that paper. So the long strips I'm going to use for here, and then for these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear them into shorter strips. Now, this is easier to do when it's dry than it is when it's wet. It doesn't rip that way very easily, but I shall do it anyway. So, and then what we're going to do is we're going to get these moist. And again, you want to make sure that they're completely covered and they're really quite saturated, and you're just going to stack them in a saturated kind of pile. Now, you will squeegee them a little bit before you use them, but you're trying to get the paper nice and wet so that it molds better, and you'll find it will go around corners and take more shape that way. So I know lots of people have said that they don't know whether they would ever use paper mache, but for projects. But like I say, I'm not an expert. I'm not telling you what to do. Just thought you'd enjoy watching how I made, well, this is not obviously making the Mad Hatter's hat, but the principle is the same. So there are things that I did with when I made the. I'm sure I told you this before, but I'm telling you again, because I can, and it's something to infill with while I'm doing this. When I made the Mad Hatter's hat, the Mad Hatter's hat was a paper slice form, well, a cardboard slice form construction, and that's how I made the inner bit, and then I covered it in longer strips of paper mache using the same recipe of flour and water, and it's just my preferred method of making. So there's actually not a lot in there, so I don't think I'm going to need all of these, but I'll just keep them to hand in case I do. So we'll do the we'll do the stem first, and the reason we'll do that is because this one has been sat here getting moistened better. So they are a little bit difficult to peel apart once you've stacked them, but it's not impossible. So then what I'll do is I just scrape off the excess. This is easier to do when your fingers aren't really gluey or really sticky with the paste, so it's easier when you're starting to rip than when you finish, because you'll find yourself just stuck to everything. So you're literally just then wrapping it round, so going long ways down it, wrapping it round, and just kind of just shaping it round, and then the tail end just bring it round and squish it down. Now what I did, because I'm joining this stem, like I say, I just twisted it at the top because it's going to get glued, so I'll just snip off that end when it comes to being glued onto the cap, and then it'll, I don't know why I keep doing that jabbing action. Okay, so the first layer, because I do 2, possibly 3 layers of this, the first layer will be a bit gnarly and be taking the shape of the foil underneath, but don't worry, because the next layer won't, because you're going to be sticking it to the layer rather than to the knobbly foil. So, and also you want it to be a little bit shapely, because you're trying to recreate that feeling of it being natural, and anything in nature is not perfect, including me, because I am part of nature, and you are not perfect, I'm sorry to say, and those people are now disappointed that they thought they were. You're not. Sorry. Brutal, I know, but hey, life is brutal, isn't it? So, and then this bottom bit, as you noticed, I'm going the other way, and that's simply because the width of the base is bigger, so I'm just shaping it the other way, this way, and then the next layer I will do the opposite way. So as this came down to here, and then I started wrapping around this way I'll wrap it this way, and then this I'll wrap it this way, and that's just so you've got just a cross grain for a bit more strength. So we're just going to shape the base off. So the first layer is just to kind of get it to stick to the foil. And then what you want to do is you want to just give it a few minutes. So don't try and put the next layer on straight away. Move on to the cap. And the reason for that is you'll just start peeling the layers off that you just tried to stick on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece that is just like an uneven square, and we're just going to stick that on that middle top bit there. Okay. Just shaping it, getting it to stick to the thing. So, like I say, much easier when it's got a key to stick to than when it doesn't. So, next piece I'm going to take is another piece that I'm going to do the same way. Let's just get some of these at the bottom because they're a bit more gooified. Technical term. We're going to take that piece and we're going to stick that on the underside as well. And again, just shaping it, just getting it to sit in all those grooves. The reason the shaping is not so because you want the shape to appear. The shaping is just so that you're making sure it makes contact, because that's going to be your anchor. So next part is I'm going to take these pieces and you're going to tear them into like strips, just very narrow strips, because the narrower they are, the easier they are to go around corners and things. So, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece and you stick it to the bottom bit or to the top bit, whichever way you're working from, and then attach it to the other side like that. And then take the next piece and do the same and just overlap it slightly and do the same, and then you'll just smooth it out. Take the next bit and do the same. Just keep doing that all the way round and you'll see how it now starts crossing over itself. That's fine, and that's why you working with the smaller pieces, sorry, the narrower pieces is much easier because you're allowing it to do that. Just tear these down. Now you could tear them all down before you start, but then you'll find it's very fiddly to deal with all the little tiny bits trying to dip them in, and so I work with a bigger piece and then just rip it down as I go. So if you push from the edge and push back, it'll shape nicely, and it will also smooth it out on that top cap bit. Not top cat. Top cat, the most expendable leader of the pack. I don't remember the words, to be fair. He's the one. He's the championship. He's the most tip-top diddly-doo top cat. Or maybe I do. And maybe I remember some of them. Doesn't matter whether you work top to bottom or bottom to top, it's fine, as long as you're kind of just working in the same direction. You remember you're working around from the edge, just go around again, smoothing it all down. Don't pull too hard because you'll just pull it, the edge will slice it. Take this next piece and just tear that up. And like I've said this before, and I know, but I'm just saying again, if you don't like getting messy, this might not be the best thing for you. You could try doing it in gloves. I haven't ever tried doing it in gloves because I don't have a problem with it, but I would suggest maybe the gloves might get adhered to everything a bit more, and also you can't feel anything in gloves. I guess that's the point of wearing gloves. You don't feel it. Not just the point, it's one of the points of wearing gloves. So there we go, so that's wrapped around there. Now what you want to do is you want to make sure it wraps around the back as well. So take a piece, that'll do, I think, and then you're going to stick that on this top edge or bottom edge, whichever way you're working from, and then you're just going to wrap it round and just seal it at the back. And again, that'll just make sure that this doesn't all start peeling off again. So any bits that you've got to shape them on the back. Nobody's going to see it. It's fine. You just want to keep the cap as kind of smooth as you can. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be fairly smooth, just so that you've got a nice shape to work with when it's dry. So just making sure that the paper is a little bit softer really does help, and just allowing it to soak in a bit really helps. Now I've done that bit, so you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to move on to this piece, so that can sit and rest for a little bit while I work on this piece. Now these have sat here and got very soft. You just need to be careful when you're scraping, squeegeeing now, because it will, there's a bigger chance that it will rip now when you're doing that. So like I say, I'm just going to do it the other way now to give it a bit of strength. So these are all going to get wrapped around this way. So I put the straight edge, make sure that the straight edge sits on the back, and then the next bit can just wrap around onto itself, and you don't really see where that starts and ends. So then we're going to squeegee that off a bit. Just putting your finger on the top just helps it squeegee. Sorry, sometimes I feel like I need to cough and then realise I'm not in a position to stop the video. Or even, I usually put a marker in place so that when I'm editing I can see where I've coughed. But that means I need to pick something up and put it in front of the camera, which isn't necessarily the best thing to do when you're covered in paper mache glue. You're just going to go over and just smooth it out, and if you remember which way you've wrapped it, it means that you're not going to peel it all off by wiping it. And it's good if you can work in layers. So if you've got, like, this has got very red ink on one side of this newspaper newsprint, I can see then where I've missed and where I've started, because this next layer is very black. Peel that up, scrape all of that off. And then we're going to do this time, because we're down to that bit where we did it, where we had been wrapping it this way. So now we're going to wrap it this way. So if it doesn't come all the way round, just overlap it, and then overlap it and wrap it, overlap it and wrap it, Dave. Who knew? Who knew it would rhyme? Not me, because I have no idea what I'm going to say from 1 minute to the next, let alone what I'm going to say on video. So on camera. So that bottom bit, I just want it to be a bit more, have a bit more stuff holding it together. So I'm just going to take another layer. There is 2 layers here, I think. It feels very thick. I don't know whether it is 2 layers or it's just gone very thick. I'll be able to tell when I tear it. Yes, there are definitely 2 layers there. In fact, there we go. So I'm going to take that piece and I'm just going to wrap it this way again on that bottom bit, just to hold that bit down that I've just tucked in. So again, with the drying side of things, you're just going to leave it somewhere. I mean, I don't know how stable it would be if you try and speed up the drying process. So I'm not going to suggest you try, because I've just left mine to dry naturally. I guess you could try drying it in an air fryer. What you don't want to do is you don't want to cook it. So these are going to be torn into little strips for the cap. Again, and remember what we're going to do is we're going to put a bigger piece that goes on the top and on the bottom, which I'm going to use one of these pieces here. Get as much of this out as I can. That way then I don't have to clean anything. Well, as you can tell, I've not cleaned that from last time. That'll get cleaned on its final use. So I'm just going to leave that for a few minutes. Okay, what we'll do is might get some more strips. And the only reason why I'm tearing it now is because it's a small amount I'm working with in the bottom of there. No, it wasn't even using the... It got stuck to the wrong part of my finger and wasn't even dipping it. I was just dipping my finger in it. No, don't have hold of it. So, just going to take that off. Again, just stick that to the top. And then any excess, just hang it over the back. You don't need to put another layer on the back now because it's just going to get stuck to the substrate. We're just going to go over, and I don't put the one on the bottom until the end because then that kind of just holds all the pieces in, so that this layer, this second layer, the bottom cap gets put on afterwards. So remember, now your fingers are a bit more sticky. It's possibly going to be harder to work with. Just bear that in mind. You just need to be a little bit patient when you're doing it. So, but it's definitely, I mean, I've got to say, I'm so excited every time I'm doing this. I'm so excited to do another bit, and it's been a long time since I felt like that about a crafty project. I mean, like, you know, I enjoyed making the folio that I did last, but even then, it wasn't the excitement that I feel now about this. I'm just so excited and like, what else can I do? And and hopefully that kind of comes across, that I'm thoroughly enjoying myself, because I am. You know, that's what we're here for, isn't it? To enjoy. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, I enjoy doing all of the things that I do, but do. Who are you calling a dodo? Oh no, a do, not a dodo. I enjoy doing them, but nothing. It's been a while since I've got my excitement for it. But I'm definitely very excited by this. It's the excitement to share it with you as well. So not just doing it, but to share it and share my enthusiasm for it. Because I don't know how this is going to turn out. I've not made this before, so isn't that part of the fun? So you just want to smooth it. It turns a bit like clay now. It's like paper clay, really, that you're kind of working with now. It's kind of gone very smooshy. And then we're going to put that key piece on, which I've obviously just used, Dave, you idiot. So we're going to put our keystone on the bottom. I might have to just give this a massage and work it in rather than waiting for it to work in. So massaging it into the paper, and then I'm just going to stick this one on the bottom, just to hold all of those bits in together, and then just curl it round at the back. So there we go. So it might not stand up on its own this time. You can still bend it. It's still got a little bit of shape to it, well, a little bit of bend to it because it's foil, so I've just bent it a little bit so that it kind of sits on its own. So that will be kind of this sort of shape. Like I say, don't know whether it's going to go on the front yet, because it depends. I haven't kind of thought about adding it to the front. I'd put my composition together and did those so that I could work on those and get those perfect and learn some things in the process. So there we go. So that's that. So I'm just going to let me just go and clear up and, you know, wash all of this off my fingers, and then I'll come back to you So they are now dry. It's a different day. Just waited until they were completely dry. They did take about 24 hours to dry completely, because I kind of had to turn them over, etc. But these are now dry, like I say, and they're nice and solid. And I just love the way they look. They need a little bit of sanding on them, and like the tips need cutting off. I have cut the others off, but I'm going to leave one and do one on camera, and we'll sand them on camera. Well, I'll definitely sand a couple of them on camera, maybe, or one, or whatever. But yeah, I think they look absolutely amazing. And then I was just thinking about the composition of it, and I'm not entirely sure what the composition is. This one is designed to sit over one of these stalks. I was thinking maybe like that. Maybe with that one, maybe have it sat like that, maybe that there. Obviously it won't be on this background. Maybe, oh no, that's the wrong, maybe that way, like that, with that on there. Maybe something like that on the front of my grimoire. Obviously that could be a bit more over there. But I really love the way they've turned out. I am so pleased with that construction method. So we're going to leave this video here for now. What I will do is I might sand some of these down in advance for the next video, and then what we'll do is we'll either do more to do with this going on the front, or we will do something else, but it'll definitely be grimoire related. But anyway, that's it. So thank you very much for watching. You know what to do. Give this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Sorry, I keep knocking my lead microphone wire. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment if you so wish. I will try and catch up with the comments. It's a bank holiday tomorrow, so I'm planning to do a bit of catching up, etc. And share it if you wish. If you think somebody else might like it. If you do anything and you've got a channel of your own and you're kind of inspired, you can always mention me. I would be very grateful for a bit of kudos. And that's it. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, I love you all without exception, until you give me a reason not to. So don't give me a reason not to. And I'm going to go now, that way actually, and go and clear my throat from the still constant issues that I have with breathing. So anyway, take care folks. Lots of love. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Lots of hugs. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.